Okay, we are live. Yet another Ask Us Anything session. Scott could not make it. We might have a surprise guest. We'll see. We don't know. Now, start typing your questions. And while you're doing that, Kostis is going to explain to you how he's going to give you things for free.
No. Let's start a bit earlier. It's the week before KubeCon, okay? So next week it's KubeCon. It's happening in Amsterdam. If you're going there, you will see Viktor and me, okay? So you can meet us there in person and ask questions. I will actually be in 3 booths, not 1, not 2, but 3. First, there is ArgoCon, the first day, and there is a booth there from Octopus Deploy, my company. And even though Scott is not here, I'm actually going to advocate for him. The first day is also FluxCon. So if you don't love Argo CD and you're going to go to Flux, Scott, if you're watching this, see what I'm doing, okay? You should go to FluxCon and learn about Flux. So that's the first day. And then the other 3 days, it's KubeCon. And I'm going to share my time between the Argo booth. So Argo as a project has a booth, and the Octopus Deploy booth as the company. And again, in the project pavilion, there is a Flux booth, okay? So even if you want to talk with the Flux team, you can go there. Sometimes they actually put the Flux booth and the Argo booth, side by side. So you can go first to the Argo booth, ask questions, then go to the Flux booth and ask the same questions and see who has the better answers. And on Tuesday, I'm also doing a book signing for Argo CD. It's completely free, okay? Nothing to pay. You just come into the booth and I will sign a book for you and give it to you for free. And it's called Argo CD the Right Way. It explains all the anti-patterns about Argo CD. So it doesn't tell you what you should do. It tells you what you should not do with Argo CD, because we have seen, so many cases where teams want to adopt Argo CD and they try, the simple stuff first. Yeah, it works with one cluster, one team, one Git repo. And as soon as teams go up, as soon as the number of applications grows, they start making wrong decisions. So the book contains all the experience we have seen on, companies that have started to adopt Argo CD and they've made some bad decisions. And once you take the book, in your hands, I want to say that if you read it and you say, this thing is so strange, nobody could do that. Yes, a company actually did that. It's all, real cases. There are no names there, no nothing that identifies the people. It's okay, I didn't want to do that. But know that it's real experience from real people, from real companies, and problems that we have seen. So that's about the book signing. But you should be also at KubeCon for the hallway track, okay? Forget about the presentations. The presentations are something that get recorded. You can go if you want to ask a question, but you should be at KubeCon to talk with people, to network with people. I see many questions in Reddit where people say, it's my first KubeCon. What should I do? How should I take advantage of it? Don't go and just, listen to sessions. You can do that as well. Go out, meet people, talk with people that you don't know, okay? Obviously, go to all the booths of the companies and see what they have to say. Maybe you find something interesting. It's good to make a connection. Maybe you don't need the connection today. Maybe you go to a company, you ask them, you see they have a nice product. Don't care about the product today, but maybe after 6 months or 1 year, either you're looking for a job or a solution, and you will remember, oh, I know something about this from KubeCon. Go and find Viktor and ask him which are the interesting companies if you want to make a selection, okay? And you can choose the booths, but I say at least, go and look at the booths, like go and see what people are suggesting and what they're offering. And the parties. Viktor, you want to talk about the parties?
That's the most important thing. I thought you're going to miss it. That's how you start this discourse. You go to conferenceparties.com, you find KubeCon, and you go to, and you get tickets for all of them. Later on, you decide where you go.
This is the Viktor way. The Viktor way. You can go to all of them or just choose 2 or 3 or
it's
1.
It's easier to say, I'm not going to go to this one, I'm going to go to that one, than to say, I would like to go to this one, but I haven't gotten the tickets.
Okay. Sometimes, I see the name, Viktor has signed up for a party. I go to the party and I expect Viktor will be there, and Viktor is not. So either he didn't come to the party or he came and then he left. Okay, and he went
or
to the
he
next
will
party.
come.
Or he will come.
Nobody knows.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to first one. How do you partition your Kubernetes? I want to install multiple versions of complex CRDs like Kafka, Elastic, AELK. I don't know, Kostis, if you know, but as far as I know, you cannot in a single cluster.
Yeah. The standard answer is Vcluster. You partition with Vcluster.
That's why I said in a single cluster you cannot.
No, in a single cluster you not. So solution one, you use Vcluster. If you're not familiar with Vcluster, it's an open source project from Loft. And you create a cluster within a cluster, and it's a standard compliant Kubernetes cluster. It has a real, API server. There's nothing fake there, but it has its own everything, like its own pods, its own deployments, its own everything, with isolation from the other virtual clusters that are running in the parent cluster. And yes, you can install your own CRDs, even with different versions. If you search my name plus Vcluster, you will see a presentation I did in KubeCon 2023. We were talking about having multiple Argo CD instances in the same cluster. And because this was something we offer to our customers, some customers might want a different, Argo CD version, the custom CRDs, or they want their own CRDs. So, of course, we know one idea would be to have multiple clusters, but then this costs money. Or to do what we did, we had a huge cluster where each customer had a Vcluster, and then we could say this customer gets Argo CD 2.x, this customer gets Argo CD 2. Whatever, and we don't care about CRD conflicts. So that's correct. One answer. And then there is a project which I think does the same, which is called Capsule, if I remember correctly.
Capsule, yeah.
Capsule. Does it handle multiple CRD versions, Viktor? You remember?
I don't think it does, but I'm not as familiar with it as Vcluster. I think it's more about hierarchical namespaces and things like that.
Check that project. Okay, maybe
check
it
the
suits
project,
you.
yeah.
So Vcluster is the certain solution. Like we know it works. We have used it. This was actually used in production in my company, Codefresh, before it was acquired from Octopus Deploy. We had a hosted version of Argo CD. You could just sign up and get Argo CD without installing everything. So not only we know that it works, but it worked in production for real customers. But also check Capsule as well and see if it does something for you.
Okay, next one. Do you think that Kubernetes will be replaced or discontinued in the next 10 years? My short answer is I don't know what will happen next year. 10 years is just kind of like too much for me. But what I can say with certainty is that in 10 years, people will be using Kubernetes. People still use mainframe. Now, whether we will have, not whether, we will eventually get something different and better. Everything eventually gets replaced. Everything except Linux. But there is nothing on the horizon that I've seen that shows the signs of this could be it. Next month, something might appear. I don't know.
There is also the mid ground. Maybe it will not disappear, but it will be hidden behind another abstraction, or it will not be that visible anymore. So maybe there is something that is new that is called X whatever, and it builds on top of Kubernetes and becomes so popular that everybody is using it in the next 5 years. Kubernetes is still running behind the scenes, but it's not, let's say, what you interact every day as a developer or as an operator. So if this is replaced, is it replaced or it's not replaced? It's not exactly clear.
One thing I'm certain, and this is going to offend some people, is that none of the Wasm thingy that is being built is going to replace it, and Nomad is not coming back. That much I'm certain.
I like Nomad, actually. I like Nomad, and at some point I had, great hopes about it.
I liked it as well, but it was never picked up by the industry. I don't mean users now. I mean literally industry, kind of like Red Hat is not contributing to it. We are not contributing to it. You're not. Nobody is working on it except HashiCorp, and that simply cannot compete with Kubernetes. And that's probably lesson learned for whomever in the future tries to replace it. Everything gets Kubernetes replaced, but you need to get the industry behind it.
I like the fact that you could run Go executables with Nomad. For me, this was a big plus. You did not need containers. Just have your Go executable, which is already a single file, and just run it. Super simple, super fast. That was my killer feature, at least for me.
Yeah, but then kind of like I can give you a very long list of missing features, starting with whole CSCF.
Yeah, networking and stuff. I know. I'm just saying what I liked about the project, okay?
I was actually, for a while, maybe first year since Kubernetes appeared, I was still pushing for Swarm. That was my kind of thing. Swarm is awesome. And I still think it was awesome. Never picked up. Okay. Is Scott joining today? No, Scott is sick, I think, not joining. I can see that he's not joining, he's posting comments like long live FluxCon. So
he's here.
His fingers are still working.
Okay. So I don't know about this. So Scott, you see, I'm advocating for FluxCon and for people to go to the Flux booth at KubeCon. Okay, you can say that a member of the Argo CD team does this. So this shows, how I love everything that has to do with GitOps. Yeah,
I think that Scott, if he would say the same thing for Argo CD, he would be compelled to perform ritual suicide after that. Okay, so Eric, after parties, that's another area to network and talk with some of the notable folks in the community. Yes, parties, without doubt, right? In KubeCon, during the day, many things are happening. Some people are going to booths, some people are in the hallway, some people in the talks. Parties is where you end up. And I strongly recommend the one I never miss, apart from my party, and probably you guys are having a party as well, right?
Yeah, Kostis. We have
okay, so
boat something.
Yeah, check their party, check our party, Upbound, Codefresh. No, I cannot get used. It's not Octopus.
Octopus deploy. Come on.
There we go. But apart from that, the Isovalent is the one I strongly recommend. Everybody ends up there, and also come to KubeRocky. Those are the 4 recommendations out of the bat. Okay. How can I do AI analysis of CI/CD pipelines? That's your domain, Kostis.
It is. Okay, you need to give some more details. AI analysis of what exactly? Of pull request, of performance, of deployment targets, of what?
I mean, if you ignore now potential generic specialized agents, you just go to Cloud Code and I do that all the time, multiple times a day, kind of, okay, create a PR, cool, done, work on something else, 5 minutes later or whatever it takes, kind of like, okay, check the results.
So let's take it in steps, okay? So for me, CI/CD would start with the PR itself, okay? So there are many products, you can choose whatever you want, or you can do it with Cloud or whatever, that just looks at a PR, okay? Yes, it looks at PR and it tells you feedback, and then it's your job to look at the feedback, see if it makes sense, add your own feedback. That's one. For me, that's not that important. The important fact is for deployments, like if I take the CD part, what happens in the deployment, and again, there are many products that tell you what is happening with the deployment. Even Octopus Deploy has an AI product, but if something goes wrong, tells you, hey, this is wrong, you should fix it like this. And then if you mean for statistics, again, you can use Cloud and say, look at my previous pull requests and my previous runs, and create a graph of the running time so that you understand what takes the most time or what is the bottleneck. Each one tells you something different.
I feel that those are kind of different paths slightly, at least in my case, right? When I create a PR, it runs whichever workflows I'm using, and kind of like, okay, check the results. If there are any failures in tests or whatever, let's work on it, kind of, and create another push to the branch behind the PR. That's kind of mostly me initiated in my case, right? Now, when it comes to deployment, I expect actually that it wouldn't be me initiated, kind of like I'm walking away from that, and I will get notification there's something wrong with something, whatever that something is, right? Probably you have a process that is watching for events in Kubernetes cluster, if that's what you're using. Maybe querying metrics in wherever the metrics are, and so on and so forth, right? You have a system that is unrelated to what you're releasing that will notify you that there's something wrong. And when it gets notified, we can speak about infinite number of ways how you can fix it. Copy and paste to Claude or Cursor. Have an agent that gets notified. That's relatively easy. Kind of, hey, watch for events when there is a warning, repeat it 3 times. Send information to this agent to analyze it, blah, 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 right? But I think that the paths are mainly different because kind of like one is me initiated, the other one is I'm done. I have a system watching for issues, right?
Viktor, you should plug your own project. Viktor is creating something with AI. He doesn't want to talk about it just yet, but it will be amazing. And maybe this is exactly what you need.
Maybe, who knows?
See?
Yeah, that's why I don't work in market. I need to hire you, Kostis. I cannot pay you. That's the only problem.
You need to market yourself, Viktor. You don't need me. Come on, let's go to the next one.
Yeah. Thoughts on grouping multiple kube resources, crossplane compositions versus CRO versus Flux resource sets. So I think that those are very separate and different things. Crossplane compositions and CRO are similar in terms that they allow you to create your own CRDs. And when you create custom resources based on those CRDs, they are expanded or composed into whatever you define it to do. Think of it like Helm done right. And by right, I mean controllers, CRD, all the stuff, right? Flux resources or Argo CD resource sets, they are more a mechanism how to sync something, in general, how to sync something from Git into a cluster. And whether that something is a Helm chart or crossplane composition or CRO, whatever they call it, or something else, is a separate concern, right? Did I get it right, Kostis?
Argo CD application sets. That's the answer.
There we go. He's using now. He started well. Now he's becoming mean. But I mean,
yes, it's correct. It depends on. I think the question here to ask about the grouping is what kind of grouping this is. Like, is it a business grouping? Is it a deployment grouping? Is it an integration grouping? And depending on this answer, you can do something different. So something makes, group. For some things, it makes sense to group while you are creating them, but maybe you deploy them, independent. And for some things, maybe you create them independently, but you deploy all of them at the same time. So you need to have a discussion first about, what grouping you mean. But I agree with Viktor what he's saying.
Okay, what is the use case for Teranetis controller I would guess that, I don't know what is Teranetis. I would guess that it's a typo, it's Terraform.
No, Teranetis is a controller that allows you to treat Terraform objects in a similar way to Argo CD. It's like Crossplane, okay? Imagine Crossplane, but still for Terraform, okay?
Okay.
It's one of the 4 controllers that exist.
Here it comes. Don't do it. Don't do it. Not because it's Terraform. So here's the thing. If you want something to be managed by Kubernetes, what you don't want is to treat a bunch of resources like one unit, right? So you have Terraform for project, and Terraform project has, 50 different resources involved, and you put it to Kubernetes, and then it does reconciliation periodically on the project level. What you want is to do it on a resource level. Right? Just like, simple one would be you have deployment that creates replica set, that creates pods. You don't want, that's not all managed by a single controller, single reconciliation loop, kind of like each of them is separate, right? Treating the whole project as one unit, one entity that is being repeatedly checked for consistency and what's not is just not working in Kubernetes, right? Nothing to do with Terraform. Do it with anything else you can imagine is still bad, right? What you want is to have resources in your cluster, and each of them has their own reconciliation loop and does whatever Kubernetes does, right? So I don't have a. If you prefer Terraform, that's cool. That's okay. I'm not going to trash it. But if you want it to run in Kubernetes, just don't do it. Run it where it's supposed to be running.
I wanted to say here that Teranetis is, if I remember correctly, one of the 4 similar solutions that exist, where they try to make Terraform work in a Kubernetes native way. So for me, the fact that 4 solutions exist and nothing has gained the market means that this is a very complex problem, or maybe it's not the correct approach at all to have 4 solutions for the same thing. So the proper answer, and I would say this even if Viktor was not working for Upbound, is to just make the correct solution and say, I will use Crossplane, which is the Kubernetes native way for resource management and infra management.
Yeah.
If you have a huge investment in Terraform, use Terraform as it's supposed to be used. Okay, don't try to convert Terraform to something that is not by its design. Okay, Terraform was never designed with Kubernetes in mind. It was a CLI that started as a CLI that you run. It does something, then you run again. That's what it does best.
Okay, I think that this is now back to one of the previous comments I made. I thought Wasm would provide another workload type. I don't see it as another workload type. It's basically trying to replace, if you're not talking about Wasm in browser, it's trying to replace containers rather than be another workload type. It's not kind of like something replaces stateful set or something like that. The problem with Wasm is that it is potentially better way to package and unpackage and run things than containers. I give that to Wasm, but not sufficiently better to ignore all the problems that are already solved in Kubernetes on a container level, right? You will have trouble with networking, you will have trouble with storage, you will have trouble basically with almost everything that is part of CNCF, right?
I was going to comment that if Wasm had appeared before containers, maybe it would be, the solution that everybody would choose. But now it has like a very difficult job that it needs to offer something much, much, much better. And unfortunately, the ecosystem is already, centered around containers. So it's super difficult for somebody to change this space.
If I would be behind Wasm, working in a Wasm company, I would be pushing for, let's figure out how we can run Wasm in Kubernetes in a way that everything else works. Basically replace containers, but whether you use Cilium, whether you use Istio, whether you use whatever you use, it needs to work. Then I would seriously consider to me, then it would be almost no-brainer. But I haven't seen that happening yet. I'm not sure that it has enough momentum for that to happen, to be honest. It's kind of, I feel that it came, probably what you were indicating earlier, maybe it came a bit too late. It's a better technology potentially than containers, that if it came, let's say, we didn't need it to come, let's say, before Docker, right? But maybe if it came within few years of Docker and started competing when the ecosystem was not there yet, then yes. Okay. Do you see Crossplane replacing Terraform entirely, or is there a natural split? Terraform for platform foundations, EKS VPCs, and Crossplane for developer-facing resources? No. So when I say replacing Terraform entirely, nothing ever replaces anything entirely. Terraform did not replace Ansible entirely.
Or Chef, or Puppet.
Or Chef, or Puppet. There's still those things. Heck, it didn't even replace, there are still companies that use none of those. So things never die in this industry, right?
CF CF Engine, CF Engine?
CF Engine, yeah.
Amazing.
I wouldn't be surprised that there is somebody running CF Engine in production.
Universities, a lot of universities.
There we go. Now, if you say should it replace Terraform, I would say yes, for the teams that are experienced with Kubernetes, right? Because Crossplane makes an assumption that you are already experienced with Kubernetes. Kind of, you cannot. I've seen many teams struggle with Crossplane because kind of, hey, we are an infrastructure team, we are used to Terraform, and then some other team told us about Crossplane because they love the ability to monitor it with Prometheus and ship logs to Loki and manage it with Argo CD and so on and so forth, right? But we know nothing about Kubernetes. We know how to create a Kubernetes cluster, which is very different from how to use it. And then the learning curve is very steep, right? Because it's actually, I would actually argue that learning Crossplane is relatively easy. It's not maybe a day, but it's relatively easy if you're very familiar with
Kubernetes. Yes,
exactly. If you understand what are CRDs, what are controllers, reconciliation loops, blah blah blah, all the stuff, right? And I'm convinced that, industry already said that Kubernetes is the preferable way to manage resources. We already made that decision until something better comes along, and maybe above certain scale. And we are already, and Crossplane is just a natural, not so only Crossplane, it can be CRO, for example, just to be clear. There are other solutions. You don't have to use CRO compositions, you can use CRO. You don't have to use providers Crossplane, you can use ASO and so on and so forth. But what I will say is that, yes, you are supposed to manage resources with Kubernetes, whichever solution you pick on top of that. That I'm certain, right? Unless you're a very small scale. Right? Because if you have one cluster, you're not going to spin up another cluster just to manage that one cluster. So in that case, you probably are better off just going to Google Cloud and clicking a button. There we go. So yes.
I will give a short answer. So Viktor is working for Upbound, but I'm not working for Upbound. I'm working for Octopus Deploy, which has nothing to do with Crossplane. And I'm saying, yes, use Crossplane. Okay, it will not replace Terraform entirely, but if you're familiar with Kubernetes and you know how Kubernetes work, Viktor, correct me if I'm wrong, Crossplane is an easy way to extend Kubernetes, or let's say to create your own Kubernetes resources according to your needs and according to what your developers want. Kubernetes on its own has some generic resources that they were designed when Kubernetes appeared, but maybe with your company and specifically for your developers, you want to create something else. The classic question is what abstraction we offer to our developers to make it easy for them to work with Kubernetes without actually, having to teach everything about Kubernetes. Like developers, don't care about ingresses or networking or storage. They just want to say, this is my application, this is my image. So how do you create an abstraction like this? The answer is Crossplane, okay? And as I said, I'm not working for Upbound, so please believe me.
Yeah, there are essentially two parts of the story, right? There are installing resources, CRDs and controllers in your Kubernetes cluster that manage something. You already do that. Like when you install Ingress controller, you're managing external load balancer, right? When you install storage, blah, 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 you're already doing that in Kubernetes, right? So you might want to extend that and say, okay, why not have a CRD and create CRs to manage VPCs or EKS or whatever. And that could be Crossplane providers. It could be also ASO that was mentioned in one of the previous comments and a few others, right? And then there is a separate part of the story, which is what I think you, Kostis, mentioned, is kind of how do I create meaningful abstractions for people, right? Okay, so people can create a cluster instead of creating BKS and VPCs and subnets and internet gateway and all the madness that we need, right? Think of it like Helm chart, just much better. Okay, What is a replacement for Flagger? Because Flux has no real support anymore.
Okay, so I can answer both questions, okay? Even though most people know my Argo CD articles and guides and the book we talked about, my favorite project is actually Argo Rollouts. Argo Rollouts is the replacement for Flagger. But I'm also going to comment on the second question, and I'm hoping that Scott is still watching. Flux, actually, what you're talking about is the WeWork story. Like WeWork's the main company behind Flux shut down, but now it's still being developed and supported by Controlplane, which has hired Stefan and I think 2 more developers from Flux. So Flux as a project is still supported and developed. So if you're thinking about moving away from that reason, maybe it's not the correct reason to move away. I don't know if they pay the same attention to Flagger, but Flagger and Flux are projects that are from the same developers, and also they are created, to work correctly in the same way. So if you want to find a replacement, Argo Rollouts is the replacement, but evaluate it and make the decision according to technical decisions. Don't think about support and anything else. My only comment there is same as Argo CD, that right now there is a single company behind Flux and Flagger by extension, and there are many companies behind Argo CD. If this is important for you, yes, but Flux is supported right now. Scott, if you're still watching, you see I'm talking about Flux in a positive manner, yes? Okay, go to the next.
The only thing I would add is that, and I think that this applies equally to Flagger as to Argo Rollouts, the main attention of the companies is more on the CD part. It shouldn't be called CD. So you will find less maintenance, less smaller community, and less support, let's say, for Flagger and Argo Rollouts respectively than Argo CD. And
my contributions actually go to Argo CD, to Argo Rollouts. So I'm part of a team in Octopus Deploy that works with Argo CD and Argo Rollouts, and there are 3 people working for Argo CD, making releases, and 1 person is working on Argo Rollouts. So it's my favorite project. Check it out.
Okay, Flagger is still being actively developed, so doesn't have as frequent releases as Flux.
Yes.
Abbiamo pipelines in AZ-DOS.
I assume it's Azure DevOps. I assume it's Azure DevOps.
Agents are on ECS cluster, but would it be on ECS cluster?
Yeah, he has the pipelines on Azure DevOps. Azure DevOps is CI/CD, like you can create YAML pipelines. Think Jenkins, Circle CI.
Yeah, I just never heard this. Probably technically possible. I never heard anybody combining Azure DevOps with ECS like AWS.
You can do it. Why not?
You can do it,
yeah. Deployments and performance, if you mean deployments and performance of deployments themselves, like the time it takes to have a deployment, I assume Azure DevOps offers this out of the box. Analysis from YAML files, you can do this with an AI agent. I assume they have knowledge of the YAML format of Azure DevOps, if you're talking about this.
Yeah, that's relatively easy, right? I mean, analysis of YAML files, that's something that it does in a few seconds. Deployment's performance can be trickier, but I don't think that it even depends much on the platform, whether it's Azure DevOps or something like that. VRabbit thoughts on Flagger. VRabbit, which is Scott. There we go. He's back. He's sick, but his fingers are working like crazy. From Shamil, thank you for suggesting object for convert Terraform provider in Crossplane. Turned out it is not that difficult to use it. It's not. And it made my life much easier. Very nice. VRabbit, would it be the longer term solution with the state of Flux?
We answered this. Flux is still supported.
Yeah. Is it possible to make Crossplane to get data from some third-party resources and use it in composition as parameter or something? Yes. You have functions in, and you should be using functions for all the time. And functions, most people use functions like kind of, I want to write my compositions using Go templating, or I want to use KCL, or I want to use Python. But the point is that Crossplane really does not care what your function is. The only thing it cares is that there is a specific input, and that function sends an output. It can be anything you want, right? And then you can write a function that goes somewhere, third-party resources, fetches whatever, outputs whatever. Yes, the answer is yes. Just use functions in any language you like. Any advice on cloud-native application protection platform from your perspective? I have no idea.
Me neither.
Okay. But Googling is cheating, kind of like no advice, no experience.
Now we can research it, and in the next episode after KubeCon, maybe we will have an answer. Right now, this is new for me.
You heard it? Cost is committed to it, not me.
Yes.
It's recorded.
I'm committed, yes.
Any blog on Vcluster?
Vind. It's the kind with Vcluster, the new product from Loft. I think if you can find, if you mean any, I mean certainly Loft Labs. I would expect they have blogs, the official ones. I'm not certain if somebody has tried it and wrote a detailed analysis just yet because it's brand new. Yes, Victor.
Here's my question. So it's Vclustering
in Docker. In Docker, it's like like K3s. It's like K3s, but it has some more advantages than K3s. And if you find the announcement and the Reddit discussion, they explain the advantages. I remember there are. I don't remember them right now. Okay.
So it's not something that was important for you to remember. That's how good it is.
For me, okay? For me. Maybe, there are other people that it's important for them. But check it out. I love Loft. I mean, the company, because they have great products. And I love Vcluster. And if you're here from the beginning of the episode, I actually did a KubeCon presentation about how we used it. So the company is amazing. The people are amazing. So if they release a brand new product, at the very least, you should take a look at it and evaluate and see what it offers. Maybe it's not important for you, but check it out. Victor, this is something that you need to test, okay? In the next DevOps Toolkit episode, review for value.
I'm going to go through it to check it, but before I do that, I must say that I'm not very motivated because I understand very well the advantages of Vcluster, as in we can run multiple virtual clusters in a cluster. That's amazing. I love it. Now, I spin up Kind. I don't need virtual cluster inside of...
You can do an episode Kind versus K3s versus K0s versus Vind, and it will be amazing. So many people are going to watch it and bookmark it and make the channel the best thing ever.
Can I tell you why not?
Why?
It's a type of technology I don't care about. It just exists.
You don't care about, Victor. You know that people want to know.
But how can I tell people something I don't care about?
Okay, maybe I will write a blog post. Okay,
a video starting.
I'm not committing. Maybe I will write a blog post.
I'm picturing now a video that starts with, let me tell you about something I don't care about. Okay. No, it's cool. It's kind of, it's similar to, like some years ago, I was really analyzing, evaluating, and so on and so forth, different Docker-like solutions. Okay, should I use Docker Desktop? Should I use Podman?
Yeah,
Ranch Desktop, and so on and so forth. But over time, it's kind of, okay, now that stuff works, kind of like, it's fine. Kind of like
we don't care about it anymore, yes.
Yeah. Not that we don't need it, which is very different, right?
No. We don't care about what we use as long as it works. It's something that has matured so much that now it's a hidden detail and just a technical implementation.
Okay, I find platform engineering and DevOps tools and practices are very biased towards technology and SaaS companies and not a good fit for companies and other non-IT industries. Thoughts? I disagree strongly. That a company needs, after a certain size, just to be clear, needs some kind of platform to do things, right? Accounting needs a place where they go and they do accounting according to the ideas and rules and processes in a company, right? Now, there are two. So I think that everybody needs some kind of platform. And platform, just to be 100% clear, does not necessarily have to be Backstage or whatever, kind of like it's a place where it's a tool that somebody uses in a company to do something. You can buy it off the shelf. You can develop it from scratch, or for most people, you can do something in between. You take some projects, products, blah, blah, blah. You fine-tune them to your needs, and you get somewhere. Now, unless you're buying off the shelf, you need software engineers to build it, to define it, blah, 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 right? So I'm not sure whether you're referring to that kind of like are biased towards technology in terms that you need to know technology to set it up. If that's what you mean, the answer is yes, unless you buy it off the shelf.
I think it has like two aspects of this. The first aspect is what you are talking, Viktor, and I think everybody should know the sentence, every company today is a software company. Like if you're not working with IT, your company needs IT and it's important. And the more we progress, the more important IT becomes. Even when you order a pizza, okay, if the mobile app doesn't work, you are a customer that will never order a pizza again. Boom, a problem with software. And the second aspect, which I think is implied from this question, is if there are any blogs that explain good practices and DevOps tools on using these in non-IT companies. And there, maybe you have like the correct opinion, because in most of these companies, people either do not have time to blog or they cannot blog. I would love to learn, about embedded companies. Embedded is, let's say, my favorite topic. But sometimes people that work with embedded systems are not even allowed to blog or explain what they are doing. Same thing for people that work, with finance or health. I mean, if you ask me, I would like to see 10 blogs about health companies and how they use Kubernetes. Either they don't have time or they want to write about it or explain what they do, and the company says, no, we're not going, to allow it. Or there is a huge legal department and you need 6 months to take approval to write something because they have to verify that you're not saying something simple. So if you look at the blogs and the tools and the tutorials, you get the idea that only the SaaS companies are using those tools, while in reality, every company is using those tools in every sector. Health companies, gaming companies, embedded companies, whatever company you want, they have software today and they need to do the same things.
Okay. Around DevSecOps, what is your platform having single place to manage security? Is this your area, Kostis?
Just pick one. I don't care. Pick what are the famous ones, Aqua or the, what's the other one? I think Palo Alto has one. We actually use many, like internally, I mean, because sometimes we use what the customer wants. So, we support Argo CD for customers. They scan Argo CD badges for vulnerabilities and they talk to us. And we use the same tool that they use. For our own needs, we might prefer something else. And then sometimes we use multiple tools because we want to cross-reference stuff. Like if I scan with this tool and it finds 10 things, if I scan with another tool, we'll find the same thing. So you don't have to choose one. If it's a company decision, I would say pick the one with the best deal or the best budget or the best package. I personally don't have any preference. If you're talking specifically about scanning, I don't think that there is a single company that does something magic that nobody else is doing, okay?
Yeah, they're very similar in scanning. I will only comment on the last part, multiple scan tools. Basically, what you're asking with that question is related to the previous one. Now, if you want to see multiple tools in one place, we are talking about developer platform.
Yeah, for viewing stuff. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yes.
Okay, does Argo Rollouts work with Flux? I've seen a couple of places where folks may have run into challenges. I'm not sure why it shouldn't.
I think both ways. Like you can use Argo Rollouts with Flux, and you should be able to use Flagger with Argo CD. It's just a standard resource. Argo CD and Flux, by extension, don't care about what the resource will do after you deploy it. They don't care who is the controller. They will just deploy it. So Argo CD will deploy, the resource, and then Flagger will say, oh, this is something I know what to do, and it will take over, and the other way around. Like, Flux will deploy it, and then the Argo Rollouts controller will see it. If there is something specific with the integration, either write like clarification or, send me a GitHub issue if it exists. I haven't tested it, but I assume it would work.
Okay, this is back to the previous one. CNAP players, Viz, Palo Alto, Sysdig, Qualys, Tenable, Agua, CrowdStrike.
This sounds like security to me.
Yeah.
Okay, choose one. I don't care.
In my org, and probably in most orgs, they're incorporating AI agents in all stages of PDLC. I don't know what's PD there. Software lifecycle. Product agent, QA agent, dev agent, any ideas on what can be done for deployment DevOps? I think it's logically it's all this. If you're talking about agents, they all follow the same pattern, right? And it's only the question whether you're going to build it yourself or you're going to buy it from somebody, right? And what agents do is relatively simple. It's what we call agentic loop, right? Kind of. There is a system context. There are tools. You define the system context. You define tools. There is a user input. And then it goes into the loop, kind of like, okay, I need to execute this tool. I need to execute that tool, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the result. Here's the output, whatever that output is. All agents, that's what they do in a nutshell, right? And when they say tools, can be many things. In many shapes and forms. And it's only a question of whether you buy a specialized agent, kind of like, hey, this is for this, or you build it yourself. But if you buy it, it's still going to follow the same pattern. Okay, I see no comments from Kostis. Cool. What with the AI agent lens, what's the difference between PDLC and... Did you Google what's PDLC, Kostis?
It's product development lifecycle. And SDLC is obviously software development lifecycle.
I don't know what's the difference still. So
I think PDLC is what a product manager would do. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Like not the actual code development, but what you do for product.
Okay. Now I'm making assumptions on something that I don't really know, but if it's what you just said, I think it's terribly wrong. Just as it is wrong to call synchronization from Git to a cluster CD. Like CD is a process that starts at one point and ends at another, and deployments is only a tiny part of that process. Same thing, software development lifecycle includes product. Kind of like it's part of the process.
It's a superset. It's a superset. Software development is like the whole thing, correct?
Yeah. So now you can say, okay, which I think would be wrong as well. Okay, so if we start splitting it, then we could say SDLC consists of PDLC and QALDSC and development DDLC and all the
security and testing and
so it's a software development lifecycle, and if you want to do it right. And I think that this is one of the big things that differentiates some companies from others. You need to think of those things as one holistic thing. You cannot work in isolation, kind of, so we have our stuff and you have your stuff, and then you test this stuff, and then you do this stuff. It's a one life cycle. That's a hill I'm going to die on.
Yeah, Viktor, maybe, you will correct me there, but I think one of the biggest problems, if not the biggest problem right now in big companies, is lack of cooperation between teams and failure, to see the big picture. Everybody's working on their own team, and they think that they need to look only what is happening in front of them without any understanding on what is happening in the rest of the company. And you need people that have the big picture in mind, where they say, we create a product, a single product. It's not, 5 different teams. It's a single company. Let's optimize like the whole loop.
Yeah. I mean, that's when it's been couple of decades since a bunch of white male men met at the mountain, and they did not come up with tablets.
They came with a manifesto.
They came up with a manifesto that has, if I remember, 4 points, and it's all about that. And it's been a couple of decades.
It is, yes.
Okay, I created an organization to publish the provider I converted, but can't invite anyone to it because it's only available with a paid subscription. Is there anything you can do about this? I'm assuming that you're talking about probably outbound marketplace. I'm not sure how it works, to be honest. I mean, when I say I know how it works, I'm not sure what is paid, what is not paid. So I honestly don't know. Me and salespeople are living in different dimensions.
But can he open a support ticket and ask about the details, or say,
you can
Viktor's webinar and he promised me to do that?
Yeah, as long as you don't mention my name, otherwise they will ignore you. But there is outbound Slack, there is Crossplane SaaS Slack. Both are watched.
I think Crossplane Slack should be the first idea.
Yeah. The problem we have in Europe is we have to tender AI tools we use. Well,
AI, all the tools they use.
All the tools, but now AI. But
both,
it was the same with everything. Kind of, you just need to wait for a couple of years, and by the time you get it, you will already be interested in something else. You never get the tools you want. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. We know.
I have a saying that some people might get offended, but that's that the solution to that is for you to change the company or change the company.
I love it.
Either change how the company operates, and if you fail, then change the company where you work, huh?
I didn't know the second part. I knew only the first part of the answer, but it's great. Can I steal this, Viktor?
Go for it.
It's yours or it's somebody else?
I think it's mine.
Okay. I will steal it. Thank you.
I'm asking because Terraform Cloud offers quite a few generous features in its free tier, which is a major reason for its popularity. So Crossplane, actually, if you go in a direction of kind of features, free tier and stuff like that, Crossplane is fully open source. And it is not owned by Upbound or any other company. It's in a foundation. So it's as free as it can get, freer than Terraform, right? And you can publish your configurations in any container registry you can imagine. What I don't know is what are the specific rules in terms of payments for Upbound marketplace, right? But you can publish it anywhere you want. It's just a container image. Favorite gateway API implementation?
Scott has said gateway.
I was about to say gateway, but he took my thunder away, so I sent it to you, Kostis.
I would say use what is best for you, because, for example, if you have already invested in Istio is a gateway API implementation. So you shouldn't actually need to change anything. And specifically for Argo Rollouts, for example, many people are migrating to Gateway API and they are searching things that Istio already has. So if you have Istio, it makes things super simple. If you're picking anything from scratch, Gateway. I think Envoy as well and it's called Envoy Gateway.
Envoy is buggy as hell.
Yeah. You think so? Still? Mm-hmm. When was the last time you tested it?
Maybe a few months ago.
Okay. So Viktor knows more than me. I would say go. Yes.
The beauty of Gateway API is that you cannot make a costly mistake. In terms like switching from one to another is just changing the gateway class.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right? Kind of. That's very different from Ingress. Kind of you choose Nginx Ingress, God rest its soul, and if you want to switch to something else, you need to rewrite a bunch of annotations and God knows
all
what.
the annotations that you had, the custom stuff, correct?
Okay,
But
that's.
Viktor, Solo has an implementation or not?
I mean, everybody has an implementation these days.
Or it's for AI. I think Solo, because you said you like
Solo.
Solo.
I think they do.
Let me also put it another way. If the gateway API adds all the features that people need, in the end, the implementation doesn't really matter. Okay?
Yeah.
Because where we are right now is that you adopt the gateway API, and there are still some things that are missing, like the custom annotations that we were talking before. So the gateway API as a specification is constantly adding things in the specification, and then every implementation must implement them. So we need to reach a point where everything that you need is specified by the gateway API. So then you don't really care about implementations unless you care about something else.
That's true, but also, Gateway API already has the things that most of us need.
I think there are some, I haven't checked the last step, but I think rate limiting, for example, I don't think it was part of the spec initially, or maybe it's now.
Yeah, but it wasn't. Now that's different, right? Kind of, if you think of it from the perspective of, hey, this is replacement for ingress, rate limiting is not part of it.
Yeah, it works. I'm talking about replacement for Nginx plus the custom annotations that you had before, or traffic plus the custom annotations, or whatever you had before.
That's the part I'm not still sure. Kind of, it would be nice that basically what you're now, like with rate limiting, we are entering into the domain of service mesh, right?
That's another discussion.
That's another discussion, and I'm not sure whether Gateway API will ever replace it fully, kind of feature-wise. We'll see.
There was also a specification for service meshes, if I remember correctly.
It started expanding. Kind of basically, it started with kind of this is better ingress or complete ingress spec, and then it started expanding into what you might call service mesh territory.
Yeah. Also check traffic as well. I think they also have a gateway API implementation.
They do. It's the only thing that kind of, there are two things that bother me. And that's that if you asked me a few years ago, I would say by now, almost everybody will be on Gateway API. And I think that adoption is actually very low, which is a shame. And I see no good reason for that.
Fear of migration. If it works, why change it?
Exactly. It's most likely that. Kind of same thing like in Nginx, people are still confused. What the heck happened? And you should have been off Nginx ingress kind of 5 years ago. But what concerns me more is that people migrate at their own pace, and some people migrate within a year, some people migrate in 3 decades. That's fine. What I'm really surprised in a very negative sense is that software vendors that publish their own charts do not support Gateway. Right? I would expect, I'm going to throw it now to you. Does Argo CD support Gateway kind of chart? Probably doesn't.
I don't remember. I can check. Yeah, it's a chicken and egg situation. You need to convince, the products first to use the Gateway API in order for people to adopt Gateway API. Yes.
Okay. So a few more minutes. Type fast. The rest is mostly statements, not questions. The area I want to explore is ambient mesh with K-Gateway. Yes. Kong shifted to open core model. Everybody's struggling with open source model. But that's kind of, when I say open source, I mean pure open source, like MIT or Foundation or what's not. There's Scott. Fingers. Traffic Gateway API is bad. They're good ingress, horrible gateway. I don't have that much experience, so I would just trust
I think you
you.
mean the implementation, because the API is the gateway API. It's not like something separate. If you mean the implementation,
Yeah.
at least my own tests, I haven't seen anything, but I haven't used, in a real scenario.
Okay, 1 more minute. Last question. If anybody types, otherwise we're gonna.
Otherwise, see you at KubeCon next week, or
Yeah,
ArgoCon, or FluxCon.
If any of you is coming, watching this, kind of come and say hello, or come to the parties and say hello. That's
Or
even
come
better.
to the conference and the parties.
Yes. Okay. Thank you everybody for joining. See you all not next week.
The next
The
week.
week after next.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.